Hey everyone, today I'm going to tell you what it takes to get a $3,000 Social Security benefit. Now, it wasn't too long ago that a benefit of this size was unattainable, even for those who were high income earners. But now, mostly because of the inflationary increases we've had lately, this level of benefit is in the reach of those even with modest incomes. Now, before we break this down, registration is open for my free online workshop, How to Choose the Right Time to File for Social Security. In this workshop, I break down how to identify the 9 factors you should consider before you file for Social Security, how to coordinate your Social Security filing decision with your other income and assets for a tax-efficient distribution strategy, and how to avoid making the big mistakes that give no second chances. Again, it's free, and I'll put a link to the registration page down in the description and probably in the first comment as well. So what does it take to get a $3,000 monthly Social Security benefit? Well, first, let's acknowledge that this is a pretty big deal. $36,000 per year from Social Security was once never thought of as a possibility. In fact, if you look at the maximum Social Security benefit, that's the benefit that only the highest income earners can get, it wasn't until 2020 that benefits crossed this threshold for someone who was filing at 66. But now, here we are in 2023, because of the inflationary increases, both to prices and wages, a $3,000 monthly benefit is much more attainable. So to get this straight and make sure it's understandable, let's lay some foundation. Let's start with what it takes to get the maximum benefit and break it down from there, because the progressive nature of the Social Security formula is very interesting. For these numbers, let's make a couple of assumptions. Let's assume that you start working at 22 and you're going to turn 62 and retire in 2023. This way, we'll be working with the most current updated Social Security formula. Now, the benefit numbers I'm going to show you here will be your primary insurance amount, or the benefit you can get at your full retirement age. If you were to decide to file early, these numbers would certainly be reduced, but really there are thousands of combinations that we could use here. But illustrating it this way is the most straightforward way to understand this, and I think it'll make sense here in just a moment. So if you're familiar with Social Security payroll taxes, you know that there's a limit on the amount of earnings that are subject to the tax. Once you go over the limit, you don't pay the Social Security portion of the payroll tax, but you don't get credit to your future benefit either. So getting the maximum Social Security benefit is really pretty easy. You just need earnings that were at or above the maximum taxable threshold for 35 straight years. This means that when you first started working at age 22, which in our example would have been 1983, your earnings were about $35,000 or higher. And by the time you turned 62 in 2023, your earnings were $160,000 or higher. Now, if you had those earnings and your job was covered by Social Security, congratulations, you get the maximum Social Security benefit. But the truth is, most people don't have earnings that are at the maximum, so it's easy to look at that high Social Security benefit and think that a benefit close to that is out of reach, but not so fast. Keep in mind that the Social Security formula is weighted where lower earnings matter more than higher earnings. Effectively, the return on investment of the Social Security tax is better for lower income people than it is for higher income people. When they're calculating your benefit, they take all of your historical earnings and adjust them for inflation. Then they take out the highest 35 years and determine the averaged monthly amount of earnings. They call this your averaged index monthly earnings, or by its acronym, AIM. Then they run your personal AIM through the Ben Point formula that's in place the year you turn 62. For example, the Ben Point formula in 2023 looks like this. For the first $1,115 of AIM, you get a 90% credit to your benefit. For the amount between $1,115 and $6,721, you get a 32% credit. And then for the amount over $6,721, you get a 15% credit. The result of this formula is that relative to the amount of taxes someone pays into the system, a lower income person will receive a higher benefit than someone who was a higher income earner. So for example, if you look at someone who made right at the maximum cap every year from age 22 through 62, they would have paid in about $216,000 in their part of the payroll tax. And that's if they're an employee. If they're self-employed, it would be twice that. Now, their full retirement age benefit would be $3,658. But if someone would have earned 80% of the maximum, they would have paid in about $172,000 in their part of the Social Security tax, and their full retirement age benefit would be $3,284. So they would have paid in just a little over 20% less in taxes, but their benefit would only be 10% lower than the maximum. Again, this goes back to the Social Security formula being more generous to lower income people than it is for higher income people. So this brings us back to the big question that we started all of this with. How much in earnings do you need to get a $3,000 monthly Social Security benefit? Well, you need to have averaged about 70% of the taxable maximum. This means that your earnings in 1983 were about $22,000, and they increased every year to where they ended at about $100,000 at age 62. Now, I've been helping people with retirement planning for a long time, and I can tell you, a $3,000 guaranteed income stream, or anything even close to it, is probably going to be a substantial part of your retirement income. And you want to make good choices about this, and you can get started by watching my free online workshop. Now, just a note here, this workshop lasts for about 50 minutes, so set aside the time to absorb this and take plenty of notes. Just look down in the description or in the first comment for a link to get signed up. Thanks so much for watching.